I think I finally cracked it. What the Spider-Man Brand New Day teaser might actually look like, what the movie's story could be, and how it may secretly connect to Avengers Doomsday. After studying Marvel's trailer patterns, past Spider-Man films, and the clues left behind at the end of No Way Home, I've put together a full prediction that could explain everything. And trust me, the connection at the end might completely surprise you. So stay with me till the end of this video to uncover the full theory, and make sure you're subscribed for more deep Spider-Man and MCU breakdowns like this. What if the first teaser for Spider-Man Brand New Day doesn't just show us a new adventure, but quietly reveals how broken Peter Parker's life truly became after the world forgot him? The way I picture this teaser starting is slow, almost haunting. No explosions, no music at first. Just the distant sound of wind moving between skyscrapers as the camera glides across the New York skyline at sunrise. The city looks peaceful, but something feels different. The camera slowly lowers toward the streets, passing by buildings we recognize from previous Spider-Man films until we finally see him. Spider-Man swings between the towers, but the movement feels quieter than usual, almost lonely. There's no crowd cheering, no police calling his name, no friends watching from a rooftop. Just one hero moving through a city that doesn't know who he really is. And that's when I imagine Peter's voice beginning as a quiet narration, something soft, almost like a thought he's afraid to say out loud. I can hear him saying something like, "Everyone forgot me." Maybe that's how it's supposed to be. Right away, this connects us back to the ending of Spider-Man No Way Home, where Peter makes the heartbreaking choice to erase himself from everyone's memory. The teaser doesn't explain it again. It just lets us feel the aftermath. From there, I think the teaser slowly starts revealing what Peter's new life actually looks like. I imagine the next shot showing small details instead of big moments. A cramped apartment in Queens, old furniture, a window with a view of brick walls instead of skyscrapers, Peter waking up early, sitting on the edge of his bed, tying his shoes before class. No Stark tech, no Avengers connections, just a normal college student trying to rebuild his life from nothing. I can picture a shot of him walking through a crowded college campus, students talking and laughing around him while he moves quietly through the crowd. Nobody recognizes him. Nobody knows he once fought alongside some of the most powerful heroes in the universe. It's a strange kind of freedom, but it also feels painfully isolating. I imagine another shot where Peter pulls open a drawer and we briefly see a folded red and blue fabric inside, his new homemade Spider-Man suit. It's simpler than the ones Tony Stark designed, but it feels more personal. That moment alone tells us everything about this new chapter. Peter isn't relying on advanced technology anymore. He's starting again from scratch. At this point, the teaser probably shifts tone slightly and starts giving us the first hints of action. Marvel teasers usually keep the action short and mysterious, but they still give enough energy to remind us that this is still a Spider-Man movie. I picture a quick cut to Spider-Man swinging between massive skyscrapers at night, neon lights reflecting off his suit as traffic moves below. Another fast shot shows him landing hard on a rooftop, scanning the street below as police sirens echo in the distance. The editing becomes quicker now. A glimpse of Spider-Man chasing someone through an alley, a web line firing, a criminal getting pulled off a motorcycle mid-escape. None of these moments last longer than a second or two, but together they build that classic Spider-Man energy. Even though Peter might want a normal life, he clearly hasn't stopped protecting the city. And that contrast is interesting to me. During the day, he's just another college student carrying books. At night, he's still the only one standing between New York and chaos. The teaser doesn't explain how he balances it. It simply shows that the responsibility never really left him. Then comes the part where I think Marvel will start teasing the new villain without actually revealing them. They love hiding villains in shadows during teasers, and this story is perfect for that kind of mystery. I imagine one shot where Spider-Man suddenly gets slammed against a brick wall by something that moves too fast to see clearly. The camera cuts before we understand what happened. Then another quick shot shows a metallic tail whipping through the air, sparks flying as it slices across a rooftop railing. You never see the full character, only the silhouette. That detail immediately makes me think of Mac Gargan, better known as Scorpion. This is interesting because Mac Gargan was technically introduced all the way back in Spider-Man Homecoming during that prison scene where he talks to Adrian Toomes. That moment always felt like a setup that Marvel never paid off. Until now. If the teaser really hints at a metal tail and a brutal fighting style, it could finally mean Scorpion is stepping forward as the main threat. And the mystery works perfectly for a teaser because viewers will instantly start speculating. Another element I strongly believe will appear in the teaser is a surprise MCU connection. Marvel trailers almost always hide one unexpected character to get fans talking, and in this case, the most logical choice feels like Daredevil. We already saw Matt Murdock briefly appear in No Way Home as Peter's lawyer, which quietly confirmed that Daredevil exists in the MCU timeline. But that scene barely scratched the surface of their potential partnership. So, I imagine a moment in the teaser where Spider-Man lands on a rooftop at night after chasing someone across the city. He stands up, catching his breath when suddenly another figure steps out of the shadows behind him. The camera only shows the red mask for half a second before cutting away. Daredevil. No dialogue, no explanation, just a visual confirmation that these two street-level heroes might finally be working together. That one shot alone would explode across the internet. Fans have wanted to see Spider-Man and Daredevil share the screen for years, and this movie feels like the perfect place to start building that connection. If the teaser really wants to push the darker tone a little further, there's another character who could appear in a very quick shot. The Punisher. Not a full reveal, just a blink and you miss it moment. Maybe the trailer cuts to a violent street fight happening somewhere in the city. Gunshots echo. A criminal falls. Then the camera briefly focuses on a black vest with a white skull symbol before cutting away instantly. That would be enough for fans to recognize Frank Castle without needing any introduction. The presence of the Punisher would also hint that this story might explore the more dangerous side of New York's crime world. Spider-Man usually deals with colorful villains, but Punisher's involvement suggests that the city might be becoming more brutal and unforgiving. And that would challenge Peter in a completely different way. He believes in saving people, even criminals. Punisher believes some people deserve punishment instead of redemption. Seeing those two ideologies collide could add an intense emotional layer to the story. But the most emotional moment of the teaser, in my opinion, almost has to involve MJ. The ending of No Way Home left their relationship in a heartbreaking place, and a teaser would definitely want to remind viewers of that unresolved pain. I picture a quiet scene inside a small coffee shop. The environment feels warm and calm, completely different from the chaotic action shots we just saw. MJ is standing behind the counter, taking orders like normal. The bell above the door rings as someone enters. The camera stays behind Peter's shoulder as he walks in slowly. He watches her from a distance. She smiles politely at a customer, completely unaware that the boy who once meant everything to her is standing only a few feet away. The moment stretches for several seconds. Peter looks like he wants to speak, but he stops himself because he remembers the promise he made. He promised that keeping her out of his life would keep her safe. So instead of saying anything, he quietly turns and leaves the shop. That scene alone could break audiences all over again. By the time the teaser reaches its final moments, I think Marvel will drop one last mysterious clue that hints at a much bigger threat behind the scenes. Maybe the trailer cuts to a dark office somewhere in the city. We never see the full person sitting in the chair, only their silhouette against a massive window overlooking New York. A deep voice calmly says something about the city needing new order. Then the camera tilts down slightly and we see a large hand resting on a desk beside a white cane or a ring. That tiny detail could be enough to suggest Wilson Fisk, also known as Kingpin. He has already appeared in other MCU stories recently, which means his influence could easily extend into Spider-Man's world. If Kingpin is secretly controlling the criminal underworld while villains like Scorpion attack Spider-Man directly, it sets up a massive street-level conflict across multiple heroes. Finally, the teaser would need one powerful closing image to seal the tone of the film. I imagine a stormy night over New York, rain pouring down. Spider-Man stands alone on the edge of a skyscraper wearing his new suit, the red and blue colors darker under the lightning flashes. For a moment, he just looks out across the city. The same city that no longer remembers the boy behind the mask. Then something crashes nearby, forcing him to leap into action again. The screen cuts to black right as he fires a web line and swings forward. And that's when the title slowly appears, Spider-Man: Brand New Day. If this teaser really follows that structure, it won't just introduce the next Spider-Man story. It will quietly show us that Peter Parker is starting over in a world where he truly has nothing left except the responsibility he chose to carry. Why would Spider-Man choose to live completely alone after saving the entire universe? I keep replaying the final moments of the last film in my head. Peter Parker walks back into New York, and suddenly the world feels different. Nobody remembers him. MJ smiles like a stranger. Ned laughs without recognizing his best friend. Even the people Peter saved have no idea who he is. When I started connecting the dots, I realized this ending quietly sets up one of the most famous Spider-Man comic eras ever written. It is called Brand New Day, and its entire premise is simple. Peter Parker must rebuild his entire life from absolute zero. If this story truly follows that comic inspiration, the first thing we will see is a very different Peter Parker. Not the Avenger-level hero fighting aliens, but a young man trying to survive ordinary life again. I imagine him waking up inside a tiny, cheap apartment with cracked walls and a single window facing noisy streets. Rent is overdue. The fridge is empty. The suit hanging beside his bed looks homemade again. When I picture this opening, it feels intentionally grounded. The message becomes clear immediately. Spider-Man might have saved reality, but Peter Parker has absolutely nothing left today. To rebuild that life, Peter would return to something classic from the comics: photography. I can almost see him carrying a second-hand camera while swinging through Manhattan, secretly taking pictures of his own heroic moments. Later, he sells those photos to the loudest voice criticizing him in the city: the Daily Bugle. And of course, that means the return of relentless headlines calling Spider-Man a menace. I think this detail matters more than people realize. Peter is not just fighting crime again. He is rebuilding the exact chaotic rhythm that defined his early comic adventures: work, rent, danger, exhaustion, and responsibility constantly colliding. But rebuilding life does not mean rebuilding it alone forever. One character from the comics perfectly fits this stage of Peter's journey, and every clue suggests she could finally appear: Felicia Hardy, also known as Black Cat. When I think about her role, it adds a completely different energy to the story. She is not a traditional hero. She is a master thief who enjoys danger almost as much as Spider-Man does. That chemistry creates something fascinating. Instead of reminding Peter about the life he lost, she represents the unpredictable life he could still have someday ahead waiting for him. While Peter struggles to rebuild, the city itself could begin changing in darker ways. That is where another important figure enters the story, Martin Lee. Publicly, he appears to be one of New York's most generous philanthropists, running shelters and helping the poor. But when I started looking deeper into the comic storyline, the secret behind him becomes incredibly dangerous. Martin Lee also lives a second life as Mr. Negative, a crime lord empowered by strange dark energy. His gang, the Inner Demons, slowly spreads across the city, turning everyday crime into something organized and terrifying for everyone involved tonight. What makes Mr. Negative interesting is not just his powers, but his dual identity. During the day, he represents hope, charity, and kindness. At night, he commands a criminal empire. When I analyze that contrast, it mirrors Peter Parker in a twisted way. Both men live two lives in the same city. Both believe they are helping people. But their methods collide violently. Spider-Man protects the innocent while Mr. Negative manipulates them. That philosophical clash could drive the entire middle portion of the film, slowly pulling Peter into a conflict far bigger than random street crime ever expected before tonight. But when I keep following the comic clues, another layer appears behind everything. Mr. Negative might not actually be the true mastermind. Instead, he could simply be one piece of a much larger plan quietly unfolding in the background. A new corporation rising in New York, Oscorp. This idea becomes even more interesting because the cinematic universe still has not introduced its own Norman Osborn. After the chaos of the multiverse, governments would logically fear uncontrolled superhumans. A powerful businessman promising solutions could easily gain influence, resources, and permission to experiment on dangerous technology, secretly creating future villains in shadows. If Oscorp secretly funds experiments, the rise of multiple street villains suddenly makes sense. Characters already teased in earlier films could return under this influence. I started imagining criminals like Scorpion, Shocker, and Tombstone operating across the city, each one escalating chaos. Instead of a single enemy, Spider-Man would face an entire ecosystem of crime growing more sophisticated. That structure mirrors the comic storyline called The Gauntlet, where Peter confronts villain after villain without realizing they are connected. Every fight pushes him closer to discovering the hidden hand controlling everything behind the scenes of New York's rising criminal empire tonight. During all this chaos, Peter's emotional struggle becomes just as important as the action. I think one of the most heartbreaking moments would involve him seeing MJ again, maybe in a quiet coffee shop, maybe walking past her on the street. She is living a peaceful life that no longer includes him. Peter could easily walk away and protect that happiness, but part of him still hopes things might return. That tension reflects the deeper theme of Brand New Day. Sometimes being Spider-Man means accepting sacrifices nobody else will ever remember or understand fully again in this lonely, heroic life. Eventually, the investigation would lead Peter somewhere unexpected, Oscorp itself. Maybe Black Cat reveals she has been planning to rob the building for months. Not for money, but for information hidden inside secret laboratories. When I imagine this scene, it feels like the turning point of the film. Peter realizes the crimes spreading through New York are not random. They are funded, engineered, designed. Suddenly, the street-level battles connect to a corporate conspiracy, and that discovery drags Spider-Man directly toward the final confrontation waiting high above the city tonight inside Oscorp Tower, where darkness finally reveals itself completely tonight. The final battle could explode inside Oscorp Tower itself. Spider-Man and Black Cat fighting side by side against waves of inner demon soldiers, Mr. Negative unleashing his strange energy across entire floors of the building. But the most fascinating twist would happen when that power touches Peter directly. In the comics, negative energy can corrupt people, amplifying their darkest emotions. Imagine Spider-Man suddenly overwhelmed by anger, doubt, and loneliness. For a moment, he stops being the hopeful hero New York believes in. He becomes something frighteningly close to what his enemies always claimed he was deep inside his broken heart. And this is where Peter's real victory would happen, not through strength, but through memory. Even if the world forgot him, Peter never forgot the lesson that shaped his entire life: responsibility. I imagine him fighting through that corruption by remembering Uncle Ben's words echoing in his mind. Slowly, he regains control, rejects the darkness, and defeats Mr. Negative. The city is saved again. Yet when the dust settles, something unsettling remains. Because someone else has been watching everything from the shadows, studying Spider-Man with growing curiosity and dangerous ambition, waiting patiently for the perfect moment to finally step forward. In a quiet post-credit scene, the camera could move through a dark office overlooking the skyline. Screens display footage of Spider-Man's battles, his victories, even his moments of weakness. A calm voice analyzes everything with scientific curiosity. Then the man finally steps into the light. Norman Osborn. When I imagine that reveal, it feels less like a simple teaser and more like the beginning of an entirely new saga. Because Osborn does not just see Spider-Man as a hero. He sees a test subject, a rival, maybe even a future weapon worth studying carefully before making his own move. That possibility changes how the entire movie feels in hindsight. What looked like a simple street-level Spider-Man story suddenly becomes the first chapter of something much bigger. Peter thinks he is rebuilding his life quietly, but powerful people are already studying him, planning around him, preparing to shape the future of superhuman power. I love this idea because it mirrors the comic arcs that inspired the film. Brand New Day begins small, but slowly reveals a web of conspiracies stretching far beyond Peter's apartment and neighborhood into corporate laboratories and hidden government interests waiting to control heroes and villains. So when I step back and connect every clue, the potential story becomes incredibly clear to me. This film would not just be another superhero adventure, it would be a reset, a lonely beginning, a grounded chapter where Peter Parker rebuilds himself piece by piece. New job, new allies, new enemies, and somewhere in the distance, the shadow of a future Green Goblin waiting patiently. If this direction truly happens, we might finally see the most comic-accurate Spider-Man era ever brought to the screen. Even beyond Oscorp, I think the story could quietly explore how lonely Peter's life has become. Imagine him returning to that tiny apartment after the final battle, suit damaged, body exhausted, city finally quiet, no friends waiting, no messages on his phone. The silence would remind us that saving New York does not fix Peter Parker's personal world. That emotional emptiness is actually what makes the Brand New Day era so powerful. The hero keeps fighting even when nobody knows who he truly is or why he continues risking everything for people who will never thank him again tomorrow night. Another detail I keep thinking about involves the homemade suit. After everything Peter lost, technology from his old allies is gone. No advanced upgrades, no billionaire resources, just fabric, web fluid, and determination. That visual alone would symbolize the reset perfectly. Spider-Man back to basics. Swinging between buildings with pure instinct instead of relying on complex gadgets. It also makes every fight feel more dangerous because Peter cannot simply overpower enemies anymore. He has to outthink them again, using creativity, courage, timing, and the unpredictable movement style that always defined the classic neighborhood, Spider-Man protecting ordinary streets every single night. Black Cat's presence could push Peter into moral gray areas he rarely explores. Felicia does not always follow rules, and that difference creates tension between them. I imagine scenes where she encourages Peter to take risks he normally avoids, like breaking into corporate vaults or stealing evidence before the police arrive. Part of Peter might actually enjoy that freedom. After losing everyone, danger with Felicia could feel strangely liberating. Yet deep down, he knows he cannot abandon his principles or the responsibility that defines Spider-Man, even when temptation promises excitement, adventure, and an easier path through the shadows of crime. Meanwhile, the inner demons would transform the streets visually. Masks, glowing weapons, and organized tactics unlike typical gangs. When I picture Spider-Man swinging through a city controlled by them, it almost feels like a war slowly spreading across neighborhoods. Each encounter reveals how deeply Mr. Negative's influence has reached. Stores closing early. Citizens afraid to walk at night. Police overwhelmed. These details would remind the audience that Spider-Man is not just protecting individuals. He is defending the spirit of the city itself against darkness. Fear, corruption, and criminal power growing stronger every passing day across New York streets and alleys. At the same time, small, hopeful moments would keep the story human. A child thanking Spider-Man after he stops a robbery. A shop owner giving Peter free coffee without knowing he is the hero who saved their store. These scenes matter because Peter never receives recognition directly anymore. Gratitude exists, but it is anonymous. Watching him accept that quietly would reinforce the idea that Spider-Man is bigger than Peter Parker's identity, reputation, or forgotten name, because true heroism survives even when nobody remembers the person behind the mask swinging above the streets every night, protecting strangers without reward or applause. As the conspiracy unfolds, I imagine Peter building a board covered with photos, notes, and newspaper clippings inside his apartment. Every string connecting criminals back to Oscorp. It becomes his personal investigation, something the police cannot fully understand yet. This detective side of Spider-Man rarely appears in movies, but the comics use it often. Watching Peter solve a mystery step by step would make the final Oscorp reveal feel earned, logical, and satisfying. Because every clue slowly pointed toward the same powerful corporation hiding dangerous experiments beneath a respectable public image built on money influence and ambition for control alone. Black Cat might even challenge Peter about his obsession with responsibility. She could argue that the world erased him, so he owes it nothing. Why sacrifice happiness for people who forgot him? That question would hit Peter harder than any punch, because part of him understands her logic. Still, he refuses to accept it. Responsibility is not a transaction. It is a choice he continues making every day, even when loneliness, pain, and forgotten memories whisper that walking away would be easier than carrying the weight of Spider-Man on his shoulders, forever protecting strangers who will never know his sacrifice. By the time Mr. Negative falls, Peter might finally understand something important. His life did not end when everyone forgot him. It simply transformed. The relationships are different. The enemies are new. But the mission remains the same. Protect the city, help the helpless, keep moving forward no matter how lonely the road becomes. That realization is the heart of the Brand New Day concept, where Spider-Man rises again, stronger, wiser, and ready to face whatever new dangers the future brings, from hidden laboratories, criminal empires, and shadows, watching him from distant towers, waiting patiently for their moment to strike. And somewhere far above the city, Norman Osborn would continue watching, studying Spider-Man the way a scientist studies an experiment, not rushing, not revealing his plans yet, just learning everything about the hero who refuses to disappear. That slow buildup is exactly what makes the Green Goblin such a terrifying future villain. When he finally enters Peter's life, it will not be random. It will be calculated, personal, strategic, and devastating for the hero who never realized someone had been preparing for years to break Spider-Man completely and reshape New York under his twisted vision of power, control, and chaos. What if the ending of Spider-Man, Brand New Day, secretly begins the catastrophe that leads directly into Avengers Doomsday? When I started thinking about Spider-Man, Brand New Day, the first thing that stood out to me was how grounded the story appears on the surface. Peter Parker is no longer the famous hero the world once knew. After the events of Spider-Man No Way Home, his life has essentially reset. Nobody remembers him. No Avengers connections, no Stark tech support. Just Peter, a tiny apartment, and a city that doesn't even know who saved it countless times. Brand New Day seems to embrace that idea completely. Peter is rebuilding his life from zero, protecting neighborhoods, stopping robberies, and fighting criminals who operate at street level instead of cosmic scale. When I look at the direction Marvel seems to be taking, it feels intentional. The story appears small, almost quiet. But the MCU has a habit of hiding massive consequences inside smaller narratives. And when I started connecting the pieces, I realized something strange. The ending of this movie might not just close Peter's personal chapter. It might actually be the moment the next Avengers-level disaster quietly begins. The central conflict of the film revolves around one of Spider-Man's most psychologically complex villains, Mr. Negative. Unlike many villains who simply want power or destruction, Mr. Negative operates with a dual identity that mirrors Peter in a disturbing way. On one side, he appears philanthropic, charitable, and respected. On the other side, he commands criminal networks using dark energy that literally corrupts the people he touches. What fascinates me about this choice is how personal the battle becomes. Peter isn't fighting an alien invasion or a world-ending device. He's fighting the corruption of his own city. New York becomes the battleground again, just like the early Spider-Man stories. And that's exactly why the climax feels so important. By the final act, Spider-Man defeats Mr. Negative in a brutal confrontation that forces Peter to push himself without relying on advanced technology or outside help. It's just skill, determination, and instinct. The city slowly returns to peace. Crime networks collapse. For a brief moment, Peter finally feels like he's reclaiming control over his life. But while I was imagining how the story unfolds, one detail kept repeating itself in the background like a whisper the audience isn't supposed to fully notice yet. Throughout the movie, A certain company name keeps appearing in news reports, technology headlines, and small visual clues scattered around the city. That company is Oscorp. At first, it feels like a simple Easter egg for longtime Spider-Man fans. Billboards, construction projects, research grants, new laboratories appearing across New York. But the more I thought about it, the more suspicious it started to feel. Oscorp in the comics is never just a company. It's usually the beginning of something dangerous. In Brand New Day, the company seems to be quietly expanding while Peter deals with street crime. No big reveal yet, no villain speech, just hints. Scientists transporting mysterious containers, security teams guarding research facilities, files referencing advanced energy studies. The film never explains everything directly, but the clues slowly begin forming a pattern that suggests Oscorp isn't just developing technology. What I think is really happening behind the scenes is far more ambitious. Oscorp appears to be collecting rare and extremely unusual materials. Some of these objects look suspiciously familiar to anyone who has followed the MCU closely. Fragments of alien weapons, unknown energy signatures, pieces of advanced armor technology. When I imagine these scenes, I see laboratory rooms filled with artifacts recovered from past battles that most people in the world probably never even knew existed. This immediately reminded me of the aftermath of the Battle of New York, where alien technology scattered across the city. Companies and governments have been studying that tech ever since. But Oscorp seems to be doing something more focused. They aren't just analyzing alien materials, they're studying energy signatures that look suspiciously similar to the strange dimensional distortions seen in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness and the reality fractures in No Way Home. Suddenly, the background plot becomes a lot more interesting. The real turning point of the movie likely happens after Spider-Man defeats Mr. Negative. The battle is over. Police sirens fade. The city begins to calm down again. Peter is doing what he always does after a victory. Swinging across New York at night, checking rooftops, making sure everything is finally quiet. But then something unusual happens. While Peter is patrolling the skyline, he notices something in the sky that immediately triggers a memory, a distortion. A ripple in reality itself. It's subtle at first, almost like a crack spreading across the night sky. Anyone else might think it's lightning or a strange cloud formation, but Peter has seen something like this before. Back in Spider-Man, No Way Home, the multiverse literally opened above New York. Different realities collided. Villains from other universes appeared. That experience changed Peter forever. So when he sees that same type of energy distortion forming again, his reaction isn't confusion, it's fear. Because he understands what it might mean. This moment is where the scale of the story begins expanding beyond the street level. The distortion flickers across the sky for only a few seconds before disappearing. No explosions, no invasion, just a crack that shouldn't exist. Peter stares upward, trying to understand what just happened. And that's the moment I think the movie quietly confirms something terrifying. The multiverse is still unstable. The events triggered by Doctor Strange's spell were never fully repaired. Reality itself might be slowly breaking apart, but Peter doesn't have answers yet. All he has is a memory of chaos and a feeling that something far bigger is coming. The movie ends its main story here. Peter saved the city. His personal journey continues, but the audience knows that crack in the sky was not random. It was a warning. The first post-credit scene is where the mystery truly begins unfolding. The setting changes completely. Instead of city rooftops or street battles, we're suddenly inside a high-security research laboratory owned by Oscorp. Scientists move through sterile white corridors surrounded by glass containment chambers. Inside those chambers are objects that look like they were pulled straight from different corners of the MCU timeline. Pieces of alien armor, unknown glowing metals, energy samples stored in specialized containers, and sitting in the center of the room is the man who controls it all, Norman Osborn. This version of Norman appears calm, calculating, and extremely focused. He isn't acting like a villain yet. Instead, he's observing the collected artifacts like a strategist studying weapons before a war. When the scientists explain that the universe has started producing unstable dimensional readings, Norman doesn't panic. He smiles slightly. That's when he delivers a line that completely changes how we interpret everything we've seen. He tells the scientists that the universe itself is beginning to fracture, and in times like these, someone must control the future. Those words immediately reveal his mindset. Norman doesn't want to stop the coming crisis. He wants to control it. Then he activates a holographic projection above the laboratory table. The projection reveals the blueprint of something massive: metallic armor, advanced weapon systems, a mask with cold, intimidating eyes. The design is unmistakable to comic fans. It resembles the legendary armor of Dr. Doom. The movie doesn't explain the connection yet. It simply plants the idea that someone is preparing for a multiversal war. The second post-credit scene escalates the mystery even further. This time, the location is far away from New York. The camera slowly reveals a massive castle surrounded by dark mountains and ancient stone architecture. This is the kingdom of Latveria. Inside the castle, the atmosphere feels heavy and quiet, almost like the calm before a storm. The camera moves through long corridors until it reaches a massive throne room. Sitting on the throne is a figure wearing full metallic armor and a dark green cloak. His face is hidden behind an iron mask, but his presence is unmistakably powerful. This is Victor Von Doom himself. In front of him floats a giant holographic display showing countless branching realities. Entire universes mapped like territories on a battlefield. Doom studies the map silently before speaking. He explains that the multiverse is collapsing and the heroes of Earth are not prepared for what's coming. His voice is calm but filled with absolute confidence. Doom doesn't see the coming crisis as something to fear. He sees it as an opportunity to reshape reality itself. Then, he delivers a final line that sends chills through the entire scene. He orders his forces to prepare the world for doom. The screen fades to black and the title appears: Avengers Doomsday. That single moment reveals the true purpose of Brand New Day's ending. It wasn't just about Spider-Man's journey. It was quietly setting up the next massive event of the MCU. When I step back and connect all these clues together, Spider-Man's role suddenly becomes incredibly important. Peter Parker might not be the strongest hero in the MCU. He doesn't command armies or control cosmic magic. But he has something unique. He has already survived a multiverse crisis. He understands how dangerous dimensional instability can be. That means when the events of Avengers Doomsday begin, Spider-Man might be the first hero to recognize the warning signs. The crack in the sky he witnessed could become the earliest signal that Doom's plan has already started unfolding across different realities. And that's why I believe the ending of Brand New Day is so clever. On the surface, it tells a simple story about Peter rebuilding his life and protecting New York again. But hidden inside that story are the seeds of a much larger catastrophe. Oscorp is gathering technology. The multiverse is weakening. And somewhere in Latveria, Dr. Doom is preparing to reshape the future of every universe. Spider-Man may be starting from zero, but the next time the Avengers assemble, Peter Parker might be the one who first realizes the world is about to face its greatest threat yet. If you enjoyed this deep breakdown, like the video, share it with another Marvel fan, and subscribe for more theories.